Barcelona, it was a good game against Manchester United. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And Barcelona, having had lots of broken levers and issues, and still some issues, are at least flying in La Liga, JJ. They're flying. They look like a proper coherent team. And will they beat Manchester United in the Europa League?
They could. And then the narrative will be that they're amazing. And if they don't, well, Xavi needs to work on his game. I've got a little soft spot for Barcelona, so I watch them now and again. They're doing very well this season. A lot of it's based on their defensive record, which is
nuts.
Smashing expected goals against, as in it's like unsustainable.
It's like half of what they should be at, right?
So their expected goals against is 17.78, and their goals conceded is 7. That's a difference of 10.78, which is ridiculous.
That's not sustainable.
It's not sustainable. So they should come back round. And when you compare it to Real Madrid are obviously just behind them. So Real Madrid are 8 points off them, right? So that's what you've got now. You can't. This does not determine how well a team is playing just by expected goals, or whatever, and where they should be. But I think it's interesting when you look at Real Madrid and Barcelona both scored 46 and 45 goals. So Real Madrid have 46, Barcelona have 45. From an expected goal of almost identical, 46.29 for Real Madrid, 46.26 for Barcelona. So almost identical, which is weird, with the same amount of games played. 1 goal extra for Real Madrid. Well done to them. Expected goals against, 20.38 for Real Madrid. They conceded 17. So that's sort of sustainable. I think if you've got a good goalkeeper, which they do in Courtois, and really good defenders, which they also do, and they're better than everyone else in the Liga because there's only 4 good teams in the whole league. So then you then you go to Barcelona, who, as we said, have a variance of 10.78 goals conceded. A lot of it is to do with Ter Stegen saving about 5 goals more than he should be expected to. He's a great goalkeeper, but a lot of that is then going to be basically pure luck. It is. That's why it's not sustainable. In that strikers miss a chance, or maybe it's lots of low value chances created against them that are not scoring.
I love this though. Is there a chance that the point at which it becomes unsustainable is I don't know, the start of next season?
It tends to balance out over
years,
seasons. You see it over a season mostly. Really good players can break expected goal models. Harry Kane always break them. Holland, I bet, is smashing it. We've been looking at Lewandowski always do it
too hard.
Yeah, and then certain goalkeepers can save more than they're expected to because they're really good. They're in the right position. They've got exceptional agility and athleticism to be able to save things, and they read the game really well. Teams generally don't do quite the same. And you'll see, there's a thing that John pointed out a long time ago to me, is that when Guardiola doesn't win the league in England, it tends to be because another team in the league is overperforming their expected goals and a massive momentum. And that can do with psychology. Luck is part of that. But that's the momentum that someone else rides. At Liverpool, when they won the league, massively above what they were expected to do according to certain models. So then again, the models don't decide what it is. It's just a way to analyze it and look at it so you can see where maybe it should be. But Barcelona are defending really well. There's some tactical innovations, or they're playing a box midfield like a lot of teams are. Alejandro Balde's come on really well. He's this left back who's been around the club for a long time. Is now coming onto his own. They
play him as a winger, basically.
Yeah. He does in defensive phases. He defends at left back, but he's a winger basically. He's really quick.
It's really fun how they get into that box midfield, right? Because they have Xavi playing as a left wide player, but he comes in as an inside forward, and then they've been playing Frankie de Jong as the interior on that side, and he drops in alongside Sergio Busquets, who's currently injured, and then you have Pedri on the other side, and so you get this box just forming, and that creates space for Balde or Alba to get up really high. And
then it's classic thing that everyone's doing now with the back four. It becomes a 3 because Koundé plays at right back, but he's really a centre back.
Yeah.
Araujo plays I like Araujo. I think he's a really talented player at centre back as well. Next to Eric Garcia's been playing well recently as well.
Yeah, Christensen's been playing pretty well too, hasn't he? But they changed a lot of stuff up for the Manchester United game, which was a little bit weird. But I do think, coming back to the underlying numbers thing, when we talk about regressing to the mean in terms of the underlying numbers, it's always we're not saying suddenly Barcelona are going to concede 10 goals more than they should do.
Yeah.
What we're saying is that you would expect them to start conceding at a level which is consistent with the numbers that they're doing. But the point is that they're now 8 points clear. So even if they fall back to the same levels that their underlying numbers suggest, they're still the same level as Real Madrid. So it's unlikely that Real Madrid are going to make up those 8 points difference as well. So that's just sort of how it happens. But I do think with Barcelona that what is different between them and Real Madrid is that Barcelona do have the ability to have a really coherent out of possession approach. Real Madrid under Carlo Ancelotti have never been particularly good at pressing from the front. And I think as a result of that, it really affects the extent to which you can control games. So we saw that run they had in the Champions League where it felt as though they just sort of had 5-minute bursts where they scored goals. And the rest of the time, the teams they were playing against were largely dominant. And that's just a really risky way to play. If you can't control games, then you are likely to eventually have it come back to bite you on the Barcelona, I think, are different because they have the ability to control the game in different phases of play. I think there's questions about the level that they're at. And I think like the tactical stuff that Xavi has brought in, which is really fun, that box midfield, that movement and the structure he's got is great. But I sometimes feel like that's just a structure to try and get all of his best players on the field against 4 best midfielders.
I mean, that is the game, really, isn't it?
Yeah. But I also think that, tactics aren't just about that sort of having smart structures. It's about having the players function within those structures well as well. And I think that was what was interesting about the Manchester United-Barcelona game, because I think Manchester United deserved to win that game. They played much better than Barcelona. And obviously it came off for Barcelona on the night. But I think that's where again, coming back to what we were talking about with Chelsea before, right? You can put really good players into a decent structure and they can be good. But if you want to be competing at the really highest level, you need to have those tactical edges that I don't think Barcelona quite have at the moment.
I also thought, like, with Xavi in Barcelona, it's proactive defending. So they're trying to win the ball early.
Yeah, aggressive, isn't it?
It comes from the whole, like, Cruyff idea that you win the ball high up the pitch. That's what you do. You swarm them. That's how you win it back. And you need to put a structure in place to do it. Whereas Ancelotti is very much not that, and it's not as bad not being proactive when you defend. So that he wants to win the ball in a different way. And although it does seem like they weren't. It seems like they weren't in control of some games that they won the Champions League. I think in a way that's exactly what he was looking for. So like you sort of bait teams into
that's
it.
An approach. It's definitely his approach,
and the players suit it. Like Benzema, he's not gonna. You don't need to make him do any work like that, do you? Really?
No. Yeah. Look, I think the problem with Ancelotti is he's not going to be able to get those players to do that sort of high pressing.
Yeah.
And like this is the question we have every year about PSG, right? It's like, how on earth do PSG compete when they have a front three of elite creators who simply do not engage in the first line of pressure? So you're essentially playing with like 8 players defensively. And that's it, and that's a problem. And I think I don't think Real Madrid are that level, but I also do think that if they could bring in a player like someone like a Julian Nagelsmann, who I guess isn't flavour of the month at the moment, but his big thing has been to revolutionise every phase of play at Barcelona, get them able to press high, able to fall back, etc., defend in different ways. I think that sort of approach would benefit a team like Real Madrid. But we're back at the Chelsea level, right? If you've got elite players, it's really hard to get buy-in for boring things like running around. And
you can't make
just
players,
want it more. You can't understand. Literally, just want it more.
Like you can't make players like Luka Modric and Toni Kroos run about and trying to win the ball back in midfield. It leaves you too open because they can't do it. So you've got to play in a different way, and then you get so much more benefit about how they play. Like Barcelona can't play exactly the same way in midfield. Well, they maybe could with Pedri and Gavi. Actually, they probably could do that. But like those players play in a certain way and it works. Like they've got Liverpool on Tuesday night, so this will come out on Tuesday morning.
Real Madrid,
Real Madrid. Real Madrid are playing Liverpool, and so you'll see. I'm really interested to see what Ancelotti does, like how he sets them up, how he wants to win the ball back. Will he target Alexander-Arnold on the right? Almost certainly yes, of Vinicius Junior, and then where the overloads come and what he'll do. Because Ancelotti is a brilliant coach as well. Like tactically, I think he's really good, but he just does things that suit the players he has in a less. Like there's a theory that like the good tactical coaches are the ones like Ten Hag or Xavi who do all the fancy new things, right?
It's like top down, right? Where it's like, this is how we're going to play. Here's the ideas. Whereas with Ancelotti, there's famous clips of him talking to the players, being like, "What would you do in this situation?" as well. So it feels a little bit more bottom up with Ancelotti. Like he allows the players to solve problems on the field to a degree.
Solving problems. Well, in fairness, Barcelona were something of a laughing stock at this, with all their levers and issues. Whereas now they're coherent on the pitch and they're going to probably win La Liga. So that's good. And that wraps up that bit, I think.
If you like this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. The Athletic is home to some of the world's best sports journalists, including journalists dedicated to each Premier League team, so every fan gets the coverage they deserve, not just the big clubs. And you can try it for free now for 30 days. See the link in the description.